Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, a Big Fun Friday edition of the Daily Pulse. It is Friday, April 4th. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, sitting here in the Well Point Studios in beautiful downtown Lowell, and I'm excited because every other Big Fun Friday I get to sit with my friends here, my fellow pod squatters. Mike Bacigalupo, a.k.a. Batch. He's on the left of your screen, your digital monitor, however you are watching us.
I'm on the left?
You're on the left. Yeah, actually, shouldn't Michaela be sitting on the left?
I'm on the left if we're facing you.
That's true. That's true. You're on the left of your side of the desk.
I should be in the middle.
You are.
I don't know.
In the middle.
Where do what political party do rubes gravitate
I don't
towards?
know. It's hard to say. I've never lived anywhere else, so.
You wouldn't know.
And we're like 3 seconds in, and you're already.
Because he watches, so I'm trying. Jack, I want you to come back.
You see how much you're missed here?
You're missed. I hate picking on just Mick. I need to pick on you.
I think he's fine where he is.
I'm not getting involved.
Michaela Hondras McCarthy, a.k.a. The Hyphen, is with us as well. How are you, Mick?
I'm great. I'm ready.
You're ready to roll.
Ready for battle.
You've had a good week.
I've had quite a week.
We've had quite the week on the text trail as well. But you also, we're going to end today's show. You've got actually some good news. You want to talk about your upcoming Sustainability Council and how your trophies are in.
Yes.
So we'll talk about it.
Yes.
Save that as a tease for the end.
Oh, I thought those are coasters. I need a...
We,
No, I'm joking.
No, you're not allowed here.
coasters for soup bowls. I like it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
We're also going to leave everybody with a Hondras hug.
Yeah, I've got 2 today.
2 hugs.
Oh, wow.
We needed
I feel
2
special.
this week.
And I also today I want to debut my version of the Hondras hug, the Teddy's tickle.
That's gonna be great.
What is the closing time at the Athenian?
Getting that little itch.
Oh my god.
Anyway, we got lots to talk about today and lots of laughs.
Wait, is that how you met your wife?
Yeah, she's ticklish. First, let me thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, you got to go to Ray Booten. Real Estate Ray Booten is the web address. And just yesterday on Inside Lowell on Facebook, we put up his newest listing, a gorgeous house, about $850,000, give or take a few bucks.
Jesus.
In Hudson, New Hampshire. So trust me, you want to see that property. It's going to go quickly. So get to him, realestaterayBooten.com, and book your showing. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We thank WellPoint, we thank Ray, we got a bunch of other sponsors we'll thank as well, but let's go, gang. Let's get right into it. And we always kind of like to start with kind of like a week in review in Inside Lowell. You guys are voracious, readers, listeners of our writings, our podcasts, and you always have things to say. So Batch,
Take it away.
Well, I mean, so the one I enjoyed this week the most was by the way, did we get an update from Councilor Mercier on whether she joined WellPoint or not?
No, but I know their GM, David Morales, he's like, you got to get me her email. I got to talk to her. He wants to personally pitch it to her.
She's like, my health insurance sucks. Tell me about WellPoint. It was like the best. Well, but no, this week,
is great.
This week I thought the thing you did yesterday was pretty good.
The tariff show, yeah. Did you learn anything from it?
Well, so I will say this. I noticed something that you don't often do, and you were encouraging people to, I shouldn't say you don't often do this, but you were like, go get your own sources, look at both sides.
Yes.
You admitted that you were wrong, which I don't know if I've heard this before.
Do you know how much that hurts for a Greek to do? You understand, Michaela.
Yeah,
a Greek man to say I was wrong is very difficult.
You are one of the few that will do it.
I've been neutered. I've lost my Greek man card.
Wait, when's the last time you heard him do it?
He's done it many times.
On a political thing?
Yeah, I've proved you wrong a few times.
You have?
Yeah. And, there's nothing I respect more than someone that just says, you know what? I learned something. I was wrong. My view was changed. Here we go.
But it was, what do you call it? The Ross Perot stuff. I went back and I was looking at that. And I'm like,
are you old enough to remember that period? You're not. You were just a baby.
So
there was no Ross Perot when he ran.
He ran for president in 92 and 94.
I was like, I remember that.
Do you?
I was like 6 or 7.
You were just a baby.
I remember that name, Ross Perot, though.
Yeah.
I do. He was the third. He was like one of the most successful third parties.
In 1992, he got about 20% of the vote.
Yes.
And the Democrats loved him because they think he sabotaged George Bush enough to get Bill Clinton.
that was the first election I voted in.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I voted for Clinton.
I thought he was a kook. And then when Al Gore debated him on the Larry King show in 1994, I'm like, wow, Gore cleaned the clock with him. I believed everything Gore told me.
Yeah.
And then 30 years happened and we were wrong.
So one thing I have to go back and look at is I can't remember what the hell we thought NAFTA was going to do positive, because it's pretty clear that all the jobs are going to go south. And I remember that I think there was like a leveling of like, we're going to bring everybody up, but I don't remember what the plan was.
We're gonna raise Mexico and Canada just like we raised Japan and Korea.
But I'm like, how did
rising tide lifts all boats, and we're gonna, it'll open up more wealth for Americans because you'll be able to trade your goods in their country.
Well, maybe it's more core competencies for other nations are different than ours. So in this way, if you're opening things up, I could see it. I could see it going like this way. If you're opening things up, everybody's thriving.
Sure.
It's like globalism 1.0.
Except when you're here and everybody else is here, leveling the playing field means you come down to here. Why would you do that to the American worker?
Well, because I mean, you look at it and you're like, how the hell are they going to compete against anybody? Like the American worker is always, they fought for years and years to get, higher pay and this and that. They're going to ship all the jobs out, and that's what happened, right? Yeah. Now, it didn't happen. So there was a couple things I thought you were right about, and a couple points you missed. I'll go through them quickly.
All right.
So one thing was that on your graph let me start here. I think the whole point of NAFTA, like looking back, I think the whole point of NAFTA and the whole point of anything that really happens economically isn't about the American worker. I think it's just about the top 1% getting richer. And I think whether it's tariffs now or whether it's, they meaning Congress, whatever, they don't do anything unless it helps the super rich and them themselves.
Right. If the middle class and the lower class benefit, that's a nice bonus.
Right.
But the entire reason for our United States form of governance the last half century has been to enrich the people who pay the bills for the politicians.
Right. And it's not about the economy. It's not about jobs. It's about the stock market, right? And so when you look at the 1%, they've gotten really, really wealthy in the last like 40 years or so, or 50 years. And so, I mean, I think when you look at it, you can really see like, what's the point, right? Like what has the goal been? And they've achieved that goal. And in Congress, when you look at how much, like Bill Clinton right now is worth like 45, whatever it is, 100, like maybe even more than that, like millions and millions of dollars.
And that's after all the blackmail payments.
Yeah. And like,
that was big, not
I know. Obama.
From selling books. He wrote books and he sold books. That's what they tell you when you ask somebody, how did Barack Obama and Michelle Obama get so wealthy? Well, they wrote books and they sold books.
Well, I mean, even you look like
because Stephen King is,
up until Trump,
like a king, right?
The wealthiest president up until Trump. I don't even believe he's got that much money, but like before that, Kennedy was the richest one, right? And so he already had money. And what did he do? He did a bunch of stuff people didn't like, so they knocked him off, right? So you can see what the government works for, the big corporations. And whether you do tariffs or whether you do no NAFTA, like until you change the corporate structure and you go from like stockholder to stakeholder, you're not going to change anything. Because right now you can take a perfectly good, profitable company in America, sell it to a hedge fund and dismantle it. Shouldn't be able to do that. That's a problem, right? And then when you think about that period of time after World War II, we always think of it as like American, we just kicked ass and we did great and all that. The whole world was destroyed. We had no competition. And once the competition came back, that's when we started sucking. And you talked about the American worker, right? This is the easiest country in the world to be poor in, right? You get like housing, tons of, I don't mean to be that sounds terrible, but like being poor here isn't as bad as being poor in
It's not like being poor in Haiti or in other parts of the in the third world,
or even Germany
countries.
or whatever. Like it's not even like no matter where. This is the best place in the world to be poor. That sounds terrible. Nobody.
I think a way to reframe it is we offer a lot of services and benefits to try to turn things
Keep
around.
people in
for-
That's a much way. Well, no, it's a nice idea. Let's keep people happy, right? But like,
If you keep them fed, they don't start revolutions.
Yeah, and you can
just ask
buy-
Marie Antoinette.
you can buy all the chips and soda you want too, right? But so it's because it's cheap. But like it's set, and we.
It's also it's also a nation that where you have people that may not have become like fallen on hard times. Like the pipeline to being poor is pretty quick because you have chronic disease. You have lots of
Well, yeah. Once
I
you're
mean,
on
like,
that slide, I mean,
the-
we excel at generational poverty here.
right. So I think there's
Because
yeah.
it creates
I think there's
generational
more-
wealth for the
Yes.
folks tasked with solving poverty.
Well, no, but I mean, there's no incentive. There's no incentive to solve poverty, and there's no incentive. Like you were talking about workers, the American worker, but like it is true. Why would you work for, minimum wage when you can, not work and still be at the same position? Like I mean, if you told me I can work,
It's a smart choice, right?
It's a damn smart
Go
choice.
get a full-time job that puts me above a certain threshold and lose my health insurance, my housing, my fuel assistance,
Yeah.
my food assistance or whatever, or pass up that job, let somebody else take it, and
Yeah.
then stay at home.
that's not
Right.
laziness.
That's intelligence. Yeah.
Why would you? I can work 50 hours a week and be in the same position or do nothing. You do nothing, right? So there's some structural issues that I think are happening, but I think the main thing is that it was a combination of we had no competition after World War II. Once the competition came in, we saw an opportunity to farm jobs out and make a shit ton of money for the 1%, and that's what's happened. And I think
Globalism.
globalism is a bad idea.
And if I'm a big corporation and I now have NAFTA, that opens up so much market opportunity for me to become even richer and richer and richer because now I can outsource
Yeah.
the job. Like
As
now I
Ross
can.
Perot said,
Yeah,
take the
cheaper
factory to
labor-
Mexico,
cheaper
right? You pay them
labor,
$1
yeah.
or $2 an hour,
Yeah.
no bennies, no environmental concerns, as Perot told you,
Right.
no health,
No controls over what goes
Right.
into the
Yeah.
product.
And now you bring it back into America. And if America is going to say, okay, that's all, you can still bring it over and sell it. Now you're undercutting the few American auto plants,
Right.
steel plants, lumber yards, whatever that are here.
And what did we get in return? As we got cheap consumer goods in return.
99
You got a
cents.
1% that
cheap-
made bigger profits.
And we
Well,
got one,
you got.
and we lost jobs
Yes.
and
Destroyed the Rust Belt. The whole Midwestern cities and towns were complete.
And the middle class, what's left of
Vacated.
us, believe that we have our 401k and we have this and that, and it's like, great, you're gonna work to 68, retire, maybe have 5 good years, then go to a nursing home that takes all your money anyway. So it's kind of like the trade-off. It's kind of a shit system, right? And if you throw that chart on there, you can see.
Yeah, let's go. This is the chart that we showed yesterday, and it only goes up till 2018. And it also only shows the wealthiest Americans, the upper class, at those who make $207,000 a year. But you can see how much their share of the United States aggregate income has increased. From 1970, they held 29% of it. They've gone up 19 points to 48%.
That's 10%, right?
The middle class has gone from 62 to 43. They've dropped the 19% of aggregate U.S. income. The poor stay poor.
Maintain
There's that
poverty,
line.
baby.
It's pretty flat,
Maintain.
10, 9. And I theorize, well, COVID has probably even steepened the decline and the incline while probably leaving the poverty line where it is. But my theory was, what if you take out the 200,000 and make that the top 1%, which is, I don't know what that is, it's 750,000, is it a million, whatever that number is, what does that graph look like? Well,
That's
Batch,
pretty.
you did some homework, Batch.
I did, and I was like, I mean, I kind of knew this anyways, but look at this puppy.
All right, let's close up my chart from yesterday, which is the income disparity graph,
way,
and we'll call up Batch's wealth update.
Yeah, this. There you go. There's your 1%.
Look at your 1%, your top 10%.
Yeah, and look at where the
From
only
1960. This is an even better chart because it goes
Yeah.
back to 1960.
look how close the 1% was to the bottom, right? And then in 1960, but look at those dips. The only time the 1% had any trouble is
That's
when the
the
stock
housing,
market
yeah.
crashes,
Correct.
or the
Or
housing.
COVID, yeah. Actually, they survived. In COVID, they didn't even dip.
Listen, COVID was a
COVID made money
Boom.
for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
So two key points on that chart right there that I want people to focus. February 1st, 1980, China is granted most favored nation status. In other words, we can now trade freely with China, and the Chinese can freely import their goods into the United States of America, utilizing their Nike sweatshops, their Uyghur slaves, and everything else that they have as a benefit over an American worker, maybe a union worker, getting a living wage, benefits, a retirement fund, etc. And that's where the disparity between the 1%, which is still, pretty close in 1960, right through 1970, right?
Yep.
And then look what happens in 1980.
yeah.
And folks want to blame, start to blame individual politicians, but
No,
this is a consistent thread through Reagan and Clinton and Bush and Obama.
Even Carter.
There's also a lot of deregulation that happened under
Carter
Reagan.
started that.
Yeah.
And also, when did I think this happened like one of the first, like this must have happened in like the 40s, maybe before then. But like the law that made it so that corporate, like it was the
personship.
not that there would be that's one of them, but also like it was their like number one governing factor should be that they return profits to shareholders.
Oh, stockholder versus shareholder.
Yeah, by any means.
You have a fiduciary
By any means.
responsibility.
I mean, stakeholder versus shareholder.
So you could like literally poison people with Kellogg's whatever.
Or put lead in gas.
Well, the
if it
assumption
was
is
in
you
your-
do it within the law. You're not going to break any laws to enrich your shareholders. But
right,
would
but
you
then you're
cut
also
corners?
spending money on lobbyists so that to make the laws so that you're not breaking any laws. And then who loses? Like,
Which is how so many
So
of
when
our
you put-
electeds end up in that purple arrow,
Right.
as
Yeah.
opposed to the green or,
Yeah.
the red arrow.
And look
right?
where the bumps are. There's the tech boom. There's the and crash. There's the housing market.
NAFTA, right? 1994,
And
1995.
look at us.
Yeah.
Like there's we're basically like just a little. We're like medium poor. Like it's kind of
nobody needs that much money. Like,
No.
like why? Like, who needs that much money, and what are they doing with it?
I don't begrudge people who make it. You want people to aspire to that, but what you have to do is you have to do it in a way where they're not getting that extra, that tippity top of the thing at the expense of the red and blue line.
You can't look at that graph and not say they're getting the top 1% is getting super rich at the expense, like it has to be at the expense of something else. And it's so clear that it's at the
it's
expense
us.
of other people.
Right, but what DC does is they have us fight and separate those fights. If like they're bad, those who are cheating the system at the bottom end, they're bad. Those who are getting wealthy are bad. No, it's human nature. What you do though is
Where am I agreeing with you so much? Like, this is like, how are you saying this?
create a system like we had where,
Yeah.
listen, if
Thank
you want to
you,
take
yeah.
your jobs, if you want to take your factory to China or Mexico, whatever, great. But as long as Mexico is charging tariffs for our things to come in, and we're not charging them, that's not a level playing field. Incentivize people to keep their jobs here.
Right.
That's what the tariffs are for. They're punitive for countries that tariff us, but they're also an incentive to tell, what was the Hyundai a week and a half ago said, all right, well, we're going to build a plant here in America. There's a bunch of other companies that have said that as well. Like,
Well, Toyota's been
that's
making
what you
cars
want.
here forever. Toyota makes their cars in America.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of think, though, the way that this is happening is like it needs to be a little bit more of a slower process, or else it does end up being a tax. Like, there needs to be a plan to bring the jobs back here and the manufacturing
So I
back
don't.
here.
I can see why the tariff thing. I can kind of buy into it a little bit, but I think what it's really about is I think they're trying to devalue the dollar to make money cheaper so they can borrow at a lower rate. They meaning
Rip the
like
Band-Aid off. Rip the Band-Aid off.
I mean, there's got to be.
There'll be some pain. There was pain yesterday.
But where's the gain for the 1%? I think that's what it is. Devalue the dollar, crash the economy, make money cheap.
So the 1% got hurt when? You see that 2008, 2009, 2010 when the stock market crashed.
Yeah.
So
Then they bounced right back.
But why suddenly are all these middle and lower class people crying because the stock market crashed?
Because
I get it. Your retirement fund is there, but unless you were retiring yesterday or today and planning on cashing it in, chill out. You've done okay. I've done okay. I turned like $2,000 and $20,000 investments into $100,000 plus $150,000 over 30 years.
But there are a lot of people that might be retiring soon. Like
for them it sucks. But a little patience. You know, do you want something to benefit the American economy long term and the American middle class long term, or do you want this? The stock market rising. This is it right here. That's what that's about.
And that's a sellout of this is a sellout of America, because like with the woman that I can't remember her name, the author that you had on the pod,
Batya.
Yeah, like the you know, she was talking about like what Trump was talking about, like your medications, aluminum, like there are certain things that we should not rely on foreign countries for, like steel, aluminum. I would say that
those are national defense issues.
Semiconductors.
Right? If China decides to go to war with us, and we need steel to make tanks and airplanes and weapons, and they're controlling it all,
yeah,
we're effed.
And I would nationalize the power grid, but that's just me. But there's things that I just think that you gotta, like, I know like people don't love protectionism and like the left loves globalism, but globalism's a myth, right? We're the only country, I think, really.
Globalism's a myth?
Well, this
is globalism for you.
Oh, that it's beneficial.
That it's beneficial.
Yeah.
That's globalism
because
for you right there.
Because what you see is that when like in Japan, when they were making all kinds of cheap shit over there, once they started making money, they went they'll go to the next country, and then it's just a big circle of, like, you just go to the poorest places to get all your shit made.
Well, I can see how it could be beneficial short term, but for a country like America long term, it's not beneficial. You could make the argument that it drives innovation, it gives us resources. We're not depleting our own natural resources for like steel and stuff like that. We're depleting another country's natural resources. So like you can make the argument for a short term gain for America, but like I want to know with these tariffs and like bringing all these jobs back, who is going to work all these jobs?
I'm looking at what 62% of the country is working. Now there's a certain segment that's retired, so obviously they're done. But there's 5 to 15% of the country that should be working and isn't working. Is it too much to ask them to work? And listen. Provide the health insurance. I was having this discussion with Jim Campanini yesterday. He was in here doing a wine podcast, and I told him about my healthcare idea. And they're like, well, you know, who's going to pay for the healthcare if you provide healthcare for people who work? And I'm like, well, we already do. It's called Mass Health.
Right.
Mass Health is already providing healthcare, often better healthcare than private insurers do, to people who are not working. Why not take that same money and say, we'll still give you your healthcare.
Yeah.
Hell, we'll even give you some fuel assistance, and we'll give you some food assistance and whatever. But you've got to fill one of these job openings here. Go make things. Go clean things.
And we'll pay
build
for
a bridge, right? Dig a canal. Do something.
Build a leaky gym.
Will the living wages be subsidized? Like, will the wages be subsidized in some way? And that's gonna, because the cost of steel produced here by workers here, where we're paying for health insurance and living wage enough to live here, that's going to drive up the cost of steel. Like, so it's going to drive the cost of everything is going to go up.
But if you're subsidizing people to not work.
You might as well subsidize.
Right, you're giving them an incentive to not work, and give them the incentive to work. That actually will take money off the expense sheet for the people who have to provide. If you can hire 5 new employees but not have to pay their health insurance for a certain period of time, you'll do it, won't you?
The statistic you really should be looking at isn't, they look at the employment statistic. You should look at the underemployment statistic, which is where, like, if you're working 80 hours a week or whatever, like, you're underemployed. Like, it should be the barometer should be, what do you make in 40 hours? Like, how many jobs, like, can you survive on one job with reasonable hours?
Yeah. So
and that's not what they look at.
So now we're getting into the realm of socialism.
No.
You're socializing. Yeah, you want to subsidize. No, I'm for it. You want to subsidize a living wage.
No. We're there. I don't want to subsidize a living wage, but if
you want to pay people to work, but
get people back to work.
But the free market cannot afford to pay people.
Well, we don't have a free market right now. We have a manipulated market.
Because we're going from a global economy to no NAFTA and tariffs. The cost of everything's going to increase.
Why can't it afford to pay? What I can't do, I can't. So I'm going to give you my example as a small restaurant.
Yeah.
I have a difficult time competing with chains, right?
Yeah.
Why? Chains can offer
Economies of scale.
benefits.
Yeah.
They can offer certain things that I cannot right now as a small business. Talk to any small
Yeah,
restaurant.
but you got the Teddy Tickle.
If I'm now that's quite an incentive. But if I can allow to take people who are unemployed right now and bring them into work, I'll pay them their wage. If they can maintain their health insurance, maybe I can also get health insurance for people who are now working for. And you just start to kind of build things up that way. It's money that the government is already spending, not the government, it's taxpayers. It's taxpayer money.
Right.
But the taxpayers are already putting this money out.
So you're for socializing healthcare?
No. Oh, God, no. It's horrible healthcare.
I think that anytime you've got
But when you're asking the government to pay for health insurance,
They're already paying it. I didn't ask them to pay. They're already doing it. Mass Health. Look, you go look at Mass Health. You go look at Obama.
Right.
There are people who are getting their.
so what do you call it when the government pays for health insurance? You don't call that socialized health?
Yeah, and it's been a disaster for the quality of healthcare and the number of people who are waiting. What you used to be able to go to an emergency room and get out in an hour and a half or two.
well, I mean the other
Now
thing-
you can't.
But if you
go
go back-
see a doctor, go make an appointment with a doctor.
Oh, look, I know.
Try to make an appointment with a cardiologist. They'll tell you 6 months. You got a heart issue. You got to wait 6 months to go see your cardiologist.
but all
That's
this,
that's a special, that's like the whole problem with specialists and the insurance. That's insurance billing and administration. Like that's a different thing.
That's
Wait
where-
times?
But that's where it started when they changed the rules around health insurance. The price went up when they
No, I agree.
started-
I agree with all of that.
When we started guaranteeing student loans, when the Fed started guaranteeing student loans, the cost of college went up.
I agree.
When we start giving out free, Section 8 and subsidized housing, the cost of rent goes up. Like when you start doing these interventions, it raises the price. I think if you got rid of especially rent, if you got rid of all the subsidies for rent, the price of apartments in Lowell would plummet. I think it's an artificially high.
100%. The government is propping up this high cost of.
Yep.
We're bouncing all over
Rent.
the place.
We are
I'm
bouncing
trying to understand what you're saying, and I think what you're saying it doesn't go any other way for me, but for you to say to socialize healthcare, like you want the government to foot the bill for health insurance.
No. What I'm telling you is the government is already footing the bill.
I know.
If they're going to already foot the bill, then do it in a way that increases productivity. And by the way,
I agree.
When you go to work, one of the reasons we're all relatively healthy mentally, although some people might question that, is because we have a job to go to every single day. We're interacting.
I think that adversely affects my mental health.
Well, you're better off
productive,
contributing,
and you open yourself up to upward mobility.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in this, we'll go to that bottom line.
Well, there is no more upward mobility.
If you're right, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in that, sure, you won't starve to death, and you'll probably have a roof over your head as well. But are you better in your lot in life? Are you able to buy a house?
Yeah.
Were you better able to buy a house in 1960? Or in 2020.
So I think
that's kind of the point I'm making. If our government is already doing it, and to some degree they have to, then can we do it in a way that incentivizes people to better themselves rather than just be happy being where they are, so that the purple line can be the purple line.
So I think we can all agree that the problem is this chart. And how you get there, how do you change that? I have no issue with people making money, but I'm just saying, like, the way it happens is that they influence Congress to manipulate laws in their behalf. That shouldn't happen.
or try to buy elections.
Yeah, which is why like you look at El Salvador, if I may.
Hold on,
I'm just saying.
This is our transition, but before
I don't know. We don't have to talk about that today.
Before Batch looks at what his main point for today was El Salvador. No, we're talking about it. We're going to thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, it starts with Ray Booton, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Find them online, realestaterayBooton.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell and southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell is counted on to insure its most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, they're bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Songus Center in downtown Lowell. Next game for the Pirates, Saturday, April 12th. Hope to see you folks there. Are you saying we should take like a pod squad excursion to El Salvador, Batch? What is your fascination
I'll
with
go
El
there.
Salvador?
So I mean, it started with actually it was Bean Shooter. I always watch his reels. I don't know why.
They're very entertaining.
Yeah, I bet
Usually in them when you're holding court at the coffee mill?
No, in the background. So, but there was some of those horrible people on the dirt bikes with the, what do you call those things?
Bandana masks.
There's a name for them.
the Irish, they're called balaclava.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Baklava?
yeah, the baklava. So
baklavas?
they had baklava on their face. And, I'm just watching this. And I was just thinking about like the general lawlessness of urban America right now. And
They go down Stephen Street. I live on Stephen Street, and they're like at like 11 at night, like crazy.
That brings them
For
out.
what? For what?
I mean, you might as well be in like the middle of Central America, right? It's just like, can we just get rid of this, element of lawlessness, right? And I was just thinking about like, how corrupt Congress is and all this other stuff. And I was thinking like, what if it happened to that Michael Bublé guy? Not Michael Bublé. What's his name? Nayib Bukele or whatever. And, I'm looking up like, so you heard about him a little while ago, and I was reading up on him. Like,
He's the president of El Salvador.
President of El Salvador.
He's the guy who took in all our MS-13 gangbangers that the Democrats want to bring back.
Well, and
That's
so,
where they went. That's what they.
Yeah,
went
they shaved their heads.
well, I didn't realize that when the El Salvadorians went to America as refugees after the Civil War, that's where those gangs started, was in LA, and then they went back, right? So that's actually like it's kind of our fault, right? But what he's done, and people like the human rights people obviously are upset about it because, maybe you reduce the murder rate by incredible numbers. You arrest, 100,000 people, but like 200 people maybe got wrongly accused. And they're all
Or like if you get a face tattoo and then you reform yourself, you're still going to jail because you have the face, because they arrest people based on their
you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And if like if you're going to tell me that like,
You sound like Maura Healey,
Well-
you got to burn a few trees to
but if 200,
make a forest.
if like a couple of hundred people get wrongly accused, but you reduce like this,
Are we really going there?
I'm like, yeah, some the sacrifices, right? But what's happened down there?
No.
Can we do it without wrongly accusing the 200 people?
You're always gonna have a few.
You could be next of the wrongly accused batch. I have such a problem with that mentality. I have such a problem with that mentality.
That's why he's not getting a face tattoo anytime soon.
Yeah, well.
But what's happened down there is amazing. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was just how, one of the biggest oppositions to his plan was, the Congress at the time. And so we went in and he intimidated them and they voted his way. And
How did he intimidate them?
he brought the army in. But like, so you kind of look at it like when you're in, because I'm not a huge believer in democracy. A little dictatorship every now and then, it's all right.
Oh my God.
That's how you get things done.
What has happened to you?
Huh?
Who are you hanging out with?
I'm just saying, like sometimes,
What's going on here?
You can't do it forever, and eventually the people will regulate a little bit, and they'll get their freedoms
This
back.
is dark batch.
This is
dark
but when you-
batch.
but when
He's
you-
got the black T-shirt on today. He's like
gone full heel.
He's like,
But 80 to 90% of the people down there, the economy's doing better. The people are like 90% approval ratings of what's going on. People feel safer.
El Salvador
Tourism.
and Argentina switching to more, right-wing leadership.
Yeah.
have had a pretty good 6-month run.
And then everybody's like, oh, you're talking about, but America had their own dictator for a while, right? And he did a pretty damn good job, and that was FDR. We had our own little dictator, and essentially he did the same thing. He brought in Congress, he brought in the leaders of industry, and he's like, listen, you mofos, if we don't start doing shit differently, we're going to have a socialist revolution.
yeah,
right?
he didn't like violate human rights and like lock up people. Like,
Really? Talk to the Japanese. So there is always like, this shit happens, right? And at some point, sometimes you need to break out the pimp hand to get things right. And you don't You don't keep it there forever. But I'm watching
don't
this
sign
guy.
off on any of this. Any of
I'm
this.
reading it.
I'm the reasonable guy today.
Okay,
I'm reading
he's
this.
I think he's watching. Are you watching Andrew Tate too much? Is this what's happening?
I would never watch Andrew Tate, but
Good,
there's a little
thank you.
bit. But I can see sometimes why people are like, all right, we've had enough. Let's get things right. And then, you can't have it forever. You regulate a little bit. But I'm reading about what's going on down there. And like, you can see where some of the, you can like, all right, let's little human rights stuff is probably not okay. But like, you look at that and you look at where we're at now in America.
Probably not.
You're like, which one's worse? Like, are we in a, like, where would you rather be?
It depends. It depends.
Well,
in America and fixing it, which
but I'm
I
just
feel
saying,
like we're on our way to doing.
But I think you need a little more. I can't say it, but maybe we need a little tiny bit.
So you think Donald Trump should be more of a dictator than
As long as you're on the.
he already is.
I'm not
Is
sure
that what you're trying to say?
So I don't really think. I'm not sure he would be the one, but like I wouldn't mind.
Oh, you want a kinder, gentler dictator like a Bush?
Well, somebody a little more.
A little J.D. Vance.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Peter,
he's got to do with a smile
Yeah.
looking off to the side.
Like
Yeah.
somebody that would, I don't know. Yeah, but not Trump. I don't know what. Like FDR did some. He was. I'm not saying he was a little bit of a dictator, but somebody say, all right, we're going to change this. We're going to change this. Like a little like what Trump's doing. I really think it's just about, devaluing the currency and making some opportunities for the wealthy. And
There's something weird going. There's
I'm not.
something bad.
Yeah, like I don't
is
trust
gonna
it
happen
100%.
here.
But in like some of the foreign, like some of it I like, some
Something
of it I
bad
don't.
that people could try to assassinate him. Whatever happened to Trump's assassin, by the way?
Nobody knows anything about
don't know
this
anything
man.
about that.
Nobody
All of it?
knows anything.
Oh, I'll guarantee you, people know things.
I'm sure they do.
I'm sure.
guy-
I'm sure the people who put him on that roof know an awful
You
lot.
really
about
haven't
him.
heard anything.
You
about that.
haven't heard? Isn't that weird? Like we know, like every assassination
Isn't it
attempt in
weird?
history. Like we know where they went, their whereabouts, like who they were talking to.
Yeah,
Like
huh.
how much do we know? Like Lee Harvey Oswald, we know so much about. Like we don't, not a peep.
We know more about Jack Ruby.
Yeah, that's true.
Why? Do you ever wonder why that is?
I do. I do wonder.
Does it make you think that maybe Donald Trump is circling above the target instead of circling the drain? Maybe he's right over the target and he knows exactly what he's doing and that he's a threat to the people at the top end of that
I
purple
don't
line.
think he's a threat to them, though.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to. I don't know. I don't
he
trust
just
it.
might be.
I don't trust
the
it.
guy at the very top, the guy standing on the peak. Elon Musk is on his side. But
See, I don't- he's
where's Gates? Where's some of these other guys?
See, those guys. These are not my dictators that I want.
Well, these are your dictators, Batch, and they somehow managed to get a 22-year-old kid on the unguarded roof of a building within a perfect striking distance of the man who would become president of the United States.
But he's perfect. He is the shiniest ball of all the shiny balls, though. Having him
Who,
in
Trump?
having him
course
in
he is.
office, like you couldn't ask for a better shiny ball, like just to
What,
distract.
to like a distract.
Yeah, so I worry. Sometimes I worry. And by the way, I
So
agree.
you think he might be a plant?
I think he's
It's not a
setting
plan. It's
things
just a good
up.
opportunity.
He's setting things up right now, these tariffs and stuff, for J.D. Vance and his for what's going to happen later on. And I don't
The Tea
think
Party.
I don't think what's going to
Oh
happen
God,
later
they're
on.
worse too. Like,
Well, no, J.D. Vance
I
is
love
like
the Tea Partiers.
Peter Thiel is like J.D. Vance's mentor, and they're all like the tech globally. Like we're gonna all have chips in our brain in 10 years.
we need an enema.
You already might.
We already might.
We need an enema. We
You
need a
already might,
governmental
going back
enema.
to 2021.
They all suck.
I don't.
They all suck. They all
I
suck.
don't have any chips.
We'll see.
Democrats, Republicans.
Well,
they
now
all
at Whole
suck.
Foods, I was just talking to someone yesterday. At Whole Foods, you can pay with your face. You can
Oh, facial recognition?
yeah.
Wait, do you pay more or less than me based on our faith?
Well, no, it.
Batch gets an ugly
Well, now you barely need you barely need a credit. You barely need a
Like,
credit
oh, just
card
take this,
now.
Michaela. Take this for free, and me like, do you owe $100?
Right. No, you barely pay with a credit card now, right? Now you can pay to tap to pay. You do a face recognition on your phone, and then you tap to pay. Right. So
This is
the
not
next,
a good thing.
So
No, I don't wanna do that.
So the next step is going to be you just look at something and you pay with your face.
Oh, that'd be great at the bar,
facial
though.
recognition. Be good for the bartender so to
Yeah,
close
yeah.
up the tab.
Yeah, but how do you throw your Heineken on Callie's tab that way?
What are you talking? He buys all the beers anyways.
But that's really the direction that things are going.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
in.
No thanks. No thanks.
I know.
Any other stories from the week on InsideLowell catch your fancy?
Just one quick one. I was looking at that auditor stuff when the council was talking about
Oh,
TIPA negotiating the auditor's
should the
contract.
city manager negotiate the auditor's contract? versus
Yeah,
the
and there was
council?
the usual people were, of course, against whatever Tipper and Rookie do, whatever. But so it's like, oh, did this ever happen before? I guess Eileen Donahue negotiated the last appointment of the auditor. So this isn't anything new. So I'm not really sure what the fuss is about.
So I'm kind of torn on this one. I can understand that the city auditor is under the purview of the city council. So the argument that the city council should be the ones negotiating contracts with her and anything else, working conditions, right? It makes sense. But it turns out in 2021, I didn't remember the exact date, but I've since been told in 2021, the then city council gave that authority to, the day-to-day operational supervision of the auditor to the city manager, which also makes a little sense. The auditor works in City Hall. The city council is, at that time, was 9 people, 11 people in different locations and whatever. They're not all going to gather to oversee the day-to-day operations
Yeah, it makes sense.
of the auditor. So it makes a little bit of sense. So I can see both sides of the argument. I tried to get into it with Bill Samaras and Vesna Noon a little bit on Wednesday, and Bill Samaras said he was part of a negotiation with the auditor. So I mean, ultimately, if the city council is going to go back and negotiate, well, the mayor is going to be your negotiator, is it not? Or do you hire an outside?
Well, that'd spring a whole new set of posts.
Do you go hire an attorney to do it?
No, you can look at the comparative compensation.
But wouldn't the council have to vote on the contract anyways? So they have the final say. So what's the big deal? Does it matter who negotiates?
Well, because I think the thought process is you're going to get a 9-2, 8-3 vote.
Well, you're going to get that on everything anyways. But like, if the auditor reports to the council, regardless of the negotiations, the auditor still reports to the council. Like they can,
It makes more sense kind of for them to report to the city manager, because the city manager is like more into the day-to-day.
Well, I think
But you want to have some kind of independent eyes on the
independent
city council, the city administration.
Right, the
So what they
The
would
auditor
do,
and the clerk are 2 of the 3 employees, I believe, that the city council oversees.
Yeah, the manager, the auditor,
the manager, the auditor, and the clerk.
Yeah, which
and
makes
part
sense.
of that is because you want the auditor and
To
the
be
clerk are
independent.
kind of the city council's eyes in City Hall in case the manager is doing something, and then the manager oversees the whole thing. The thing both sides have a valid point here. In the grand scheme of things, does it make that much of a difference?
it's kind of.
I mean, you could theoretically have a city manager, I guess, say, well, to the auditor, well, I'll give you a hell of a contract, but you're going to look the other way.
well, you have the CFO.
But they have no obligation to do so. They don't report to the city manager.
Right, but if the city manager is giving you the big pay raise,
Fuck them. Who cares?
That's the argument.
It's a weak argument.
Is it really that big of a thing? I guess.
No,
that's my kind of thought.
But it got me thinking, like, why is there so much? Why is it always the votes the way they always are? And why? And not just this council, but in general in local politics, you get all these. You always end up with these like factions, right?
People vote with other people.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think it all comes down to the stupid mayor thing. I think every friggin' beef in Lowell comes back to,
I don't know.
the mayor shit.
I would give them a little more credit.
I don't. It's all about mayor shit.
So they're voting on all of these things a certain way, even if they want something else.
The grudges start every term with the mayor stuff.
I watched it happen in 2011.
That's a long time. That's a different.
I watched on election night, that first Tuesday in November at the Blue Shamrock, as we're broadcasting election results. I watched the coalition form around Patrick Murphy for mayor instead of Rodney Elliott, who was thought to be the next in line, and that set the tone for the next 2 years. The factions
Every time.
the bad blood is formed, and it just kind of goes from there. Then again, if you give it to the people, then you just might as well just have it in District 3 and let them pick the mayor.
I think I would do like they got to come up with something else. I would say, if I was a council right now, I'd give Danny another term because I think things are going well. But like, if you were going to do.
What is it with Friday guest hosts here? That was Boder last week.
Why change? Like right now, first of all, I would make the councils have 4-year terms. Absolutely 4-year terms.
Instead of 2?
Yeah. I think it's just too much. It's too much.
Too much change.
Yeah. And then
4 years is a long.
But don't
time.
run them all at the same time. Have like 6 of them elected in
That'd be fun.
2025.
That'd be pretty fun.
5 of them in 27, and give them, so you always have some kind of an election. 'Cause
Yeah.
after all, InsideLowell and other media entities need advertising money.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, but that's actually a good idea to do that. But 4
That's
years.
how some play. That's how towns do it. Chelmsford has
I like
different
that.
terms up
Yeah.
and different.
And the
years
mayor
on it.
thing, I don't know, man. Like, I like the ceremonial mayor. I don't like the whole thing, but like this, I think all these beefs that come up are always about the.
I would hope not. I would hope that these elected officials are a little bit more, I think that they're a little bit more intellectual than that, just to be like voting on whatever team. I don't think that. Hey, I don't know.
I mean, what do I know, right?
But the thing
If
is,
I worked so hard to get to city council, and they work very hard to get there, it's a lot of work.
I'm just a rube.
They have to show up, but
You are a rube.
you work so hard. You have things that you want to
back,
champion. You have constituents that you want to be hearing and accountable to. So like, you vote with what's right. Like I think that's what happened.
I actually think I agree with Mick on this. You see it while there's always factions. Periodically, you get politics make strange bedfellows. Like on that auditor motion, John Dakota, who was like public enemy number one to one faction over the Smith-Baker vote, suddenly voted with them on the auditor thing. When you go back to the ADU debate, right? Kim Scott. She's out of a different faction, and then she was one of the voices to kind of help kill the ADU thing. But can somebody tell me, did I miss the notice of when Belvedere is holding a neighborhood meeting to try to get rid of the ADUs, and the governor and all the state reps and state senators who supported ADUs?
I don't know.
Because they were ready to go to the mattresses in Lowell over ADUs, and then all of a sudden Governor Healy and the legislature says,
the mattresses.
yeah, the
You never heard
Italians
of
would
that?
go to the mattresses. They go to
Oh
war.
yeah, that's when you hide out.
That's when you go to war. But
Learned something new today.
everybody in the city of Lowell, certain neighborhood leaders, and certainly the leading neighborhood, Belvedere, they lost their minds when the city council was moving towards ADUs in Lowell. And then 3 months afterwards, Governor Healy snapped her fingers. The legislature danced to the snapping fingers tune. And where's Belvedere? Why no outrage now? And what
That's a good point.
What Healy did is far more, onerous to the people who didn't want ADUs than what the Lowell City Council had proposed.
When was that again? What year was that?
2023. That was a big debate in 2023. Remember they got when Councils Noon, Chow and Leahy ended up flipping their votes, and he went from a 7-4 in favor of
So Sakari was
ADUs
mayor then, right?
to a 6-5. Yes, so Sakari Chow was mayor, didn't pull the trigger on a vote.
Right.
And lost his majority. And so I think to Danny Rourke's credit, when he's got a majority, he makes sure that vote is held.
Yeah.
You're not going to wait for, the
Very effective
people
mayor.
in Belvedere to wake up to what's going.
They got to go to 4 years. 4 years.
Interesting.
Anyways.
Yeah. And I'll say one other thing. Like I will say, like if I'm a city councilor and there's an issue that like I don't really know that much about, or or like my constituents aren't up in arms about, I would maybe vote with my friend on something if they were really passionate about it and they know more than me or something like that. Like I would maybe vote with like my group. In that
Is
case,
you saying you're going to run for
No.
John Dakota in District 8 or at large?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
I need a primary in that race.
He's
I've
doing
got one in Belvedere.
He's doing a great job. And even if he wasn't, I don't have the
primary in
mental
Belvedere.
strength.
If I can get a primary in the Upper Highlands, Districts 3 and 8, come on, cha-ching.
Wait, so we need one more. We need one more person to challenge for Danielle to have a primary.
In the school committee?
Yeah.
So so Connie Martin has told me she's running. Jackie Dakota has not returned my message. Jackie Doherty has not returned my messages. Danielle is running. Bob Hoey keeps telling people that he's running on City Life.
Get him out of that rock. Get him out of that rock
So
in a
there's
hard
4.
place.
There's one other candidate, Elkin Montoya, who's thinking about it.
Oh.
So if you have 5, you'll have a primary on the school committee at large race too, which would be great. Because then the whole city will have to vote.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
I want primaries in all 8 districts and at large races as well.
And I want people to vote.
All 5,000 of them.
I want should be voter turnout records this year.
Do you know
Over under is 7,000, right?
Can I tell you my favorite story on Inside Lowell this week?
Yes.
Oh, please.
It was the story of the grant for Lowell High School to feed the starving kids. Remember, everybody was all up in arms because Donald Trump cut food money for the starving kids of Lowell High, a $25,000 grant. That really was, I mean, it was food, but it was a grant that went to groups to buy sustainable produce from local farmers. Mill City Grows or Mill City Grants or whatever that organization is known
Mill
as.
City Grows.
Oh, I thought it was
They're a fantastic organization.
MCG, Mill City Grants.
Mill
right?
City
No,
Grows.
Mill City Grows. I always get that
I'm
confused.
sorry. Lots of organizations get grants, and it's to do amazing work that they do.
To teach people to farm on a plot of land the size of this desk. Because they'll be able to sustain it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like to bus them over to Groton and teach them to farm there? Where would you like them to learn?
I'd rather let the farmers make the food and bring it in with no tariffs.
I will say though, the food grown locally in Lowell,
Stacy?
well, the extra heavy metals and the microplastics make it taste so good.
Are the cucumbers grown in Lowell in like a little,
It's a
landfill in a former
Well, we
landfill?
can't have
it's a Brownsfield site with a 55-gallon drum.
The cucumbers are much bigger in that. And,
Oh, so you'd rather them grown where? Like in
Drink it.
Canada
On a farm.
or China? It's
On a
shipped
farm.
over.
not on Appleton Street.
Hydroponically
Growing something in your backyard and
Great.
dangerous.
Backyard.
I grow
great.
and picking it yourself,
Oh,
getting
love it.
the density of the nutrients is so much more
but
than
you-
it would be if
well-
it was like sprayed with pesticides, shipped on a truck somewhere, sprayed with the things that keep it fresh. Like you're teaching kids to grow food.
They do grow.
I don't see
They are
anything.
doing it in boxes. They're not doing it in the actual soil.
I don't care where they do
No,
it.
it's better. I'm saying.
Yeah. That nothing better than that. I like.
Wonderful.
You're learning about nature. You're learning about like this. You're outside getting sunshine. You're putting your hands in the dirt, and then you get to eat the fruits of your labor. Like, what is better than that?
We're going to feed 330 million people across America on a little plot of land on Appleton Street.
Why can't you just put in the contract though to Aramac?
That's not what the goal is.
Couldn't you just say, hey, you guys got to buy this percentage of your food from local markets?
Aramark, you've got the food services contract
Yeah.
for Lowell
20%
Public
of
Schools.
your has to be
20%
bought
of your
from-
money will be bought from a local farm. You cut out the middleman and
Right.
the
That's-
17 paid employees of that middleman from MCG, Mill City Grants.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The employees of Mill City Grows also do a lot of the farming work.
I know.
You understand,
But there are
right?
local.
And the teaching work.
But you can
Yeah,
buy
they-
from. I like what
I'm
they.
gonna get-
I like what they
I'm
do.
gonna
This was part of our text trail this week.
don't come from Mill City Grows.
I think the education stuff and all that is great. I just, if you're gonna buy though, like, there's a lot of local. You could, I would say, buy direct from the local farmers
There's enough to go around.
and drink it.
There's
in,
enough.
like
yeah.
in the surrounding areas.
I'm for that. I'm for
Why
all of
doesn't
that.
UMass just open an A&M, agricultural and manufacturing arm of their college, like Texas A&M has, Florida A&M?
Risk Sustainability
that's-
Institute has a whole they have a whole green
There we
culture.
go.
They have all that.
UMass Lowell A&M.
Listen, if UMass Amherst can have a hockey team, we can have an A&M program.
Exactly. But my favorite part of the story was everybody lost their minds, including our governor, Maura Healey, about the fact that we're taking food off the plates of starving
Did she cry like she
children.
did on the left?
$25,000. So this week, I get a press release from the governor's office. We're sending grants to a bunch of schools for food. And Lowell's share of it, which was confirmed to me by the Lowell School Department, is going to replace that $25,000 that Mill City Grows lost through that program, right?
Yeah.
Except they got $30,000 from the state instead of the $25,000 they were
Right.
getting from the feds. So it's just your tax dollars are all in a big clump. One is controlled in Washington, D.C., one is controlled on Beacon Hill in Boston, and then it's just distributed. And whoever, if they're like, well, if Batch is going to buy this round of drinks, I won't reach into my wallet. But if Batch doesn't reach into his wallet, then Mick will buy the round of drinks. And
I hear it.
so all this hand wringing over the kids are going to starve in Lowell and whatnot. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Well,
The kids are going to be fine.
Well, you're robbing them of programming that could be really beneficial to lots of kids. One of those kids, you could change their life. Like you could teach them that tool to grow your own food, and you could change their life. And they're
Are they teaching these programs over at the Union Conference Center for the next 4 months before those people are forced to evacuate? Because I'm told one of the reasons they were here was so they could help pick the crops for
Did that really happen?
What?
I don't know.
No, they're hiring farmers for the season.
Wasn't that one of the arguments that we need to have?
Is that true?
We can't kick all these illegals out because then who's going to pick your blueberries?
Well, how would they think people?
This is okay. This is getting so convoluted. This has nothing
cities,
to
they're
do.
not like rural.
This has nothing. It's like no. This has
By the way,
nothing to do with this.
I think that $2.16 per student is very well worth it.
Is that how much it costs to feed the kids?
I don't know. It's
No,
what was it? 14,000 divided by 30. It's like two. Yeah.
Oh. I see.
I would say. I mean, listen. Great, but like, let's get Aramark. I don't know how to say it. I just know
Aramark.
They're a terrible company.
Yeah, they're already paying multiple levels of management to do this. Just have them buy from Farmer
Terrible,
Dave
terrible,
or
terrible
from Shaw
company.
Farms or from wherever.
And get rid of the
Moldy food.
styrofoam. No styrofoam for Aramark.
Yeah. Before we wrap, we
Wait,
gotta
people
talk.
still use styrofoam? I thought
Yes.
that was gone.
No,
It's a new kind of
batch.
styrofoam. There's a really
It's like
thin
real.
kind
There's a
that we
thick.
use.
The
Oh, don't you
trays.
hate that
The
noise
trays
when-
are,
Oh yeah, the packing for
Yeah.
I'll show you the kind of
and
styrofoam.
it's
that we
every
use.
day. However many. Think of all that trash it
I
generates.
thought they got rid of that years ago.
I'm glad you said that.
When
because
like
no.
McDonald's doesn't use. I thought when they
No,
got
in
rid
the
of.
schools they still in low schools they still
Don't
use
you
that.
hate that noise when people
It's
like
like-
that
it's like,
noise
eh.
doing
Make
this
little
with
balls that
styrofoam?
like float all over, and they end up with static
No,
thing.
yeah, and
I
then,
had no
then
idea.
the cancer it causes also. That's
Good
really.
for Lowell. We love plenty of cancer.
I don't like that either.
I got an email from your council, the Lowell Sustainability
Yes,
Council, that
yes.
they have amassed all the replies from the survey. They must have lost my reply.
No, they
on
no.
styrofoam. They knew exactly
Ryan,
which one was mine.
Ryan read one of the replies. I was like, "That's steady." I know exactly who that
don't
reply.
use styrofoam.
No, it was read. We read it during
we
the
use
meeting.
some kind of styrofoam for our baklava takeout containers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Lowell Sustainability Council is going to make some kind of a recommendation.
Ryan made a video.
Is it to eliminate, to ban styrofoam containers in Lowell, or to encourage, find incentives to encourage people to move away from them? What exactly did you guys decide?
So we're looking at the first step was collecting feedback. Like, what are the barriers to getting rid of styrofoam? And the number one barrier, of course, is cost. And so, nothing really works overnight. Like, you can't do like a total ban overnight. You're gonna have a lot of pushback.
Said in El Salvador.
Yeah. Well, if we were El Salvador, maybe. That was a good one.
What's that
That was a
guy
good one.
name?
Yeah.
Bukele?
Michael Bublé.
But it's kind of collecting. A good first step could be getting rid of it in our schools and doing it. Like Chelmsford uses compostable containers in their schools, so kind of just like getting to like a step of recommendation, making sure people are aware of all of the adverse effects of using styrofoam, especially on kids in schools. So kind of like seeing what the best step forward could be for that.
All right.
Eventually, we're hoping to get to some sort of situation where styrofoam is no longer being used in the city by restaurants and
If
schools.
it's done
and people.
freely, if it's done through educational, informational
Yeah.
programs,
A
incentives,
grant, an idea could be like for the city.
just don't do an outright ban.
I know. I hear.
Like they
I
did with straws and plastic bags.
I hear
and
you.
Now we're all getting our grocery bags, paper bags, ripping from Market Basket because they can't
I don't mind the.
hold
I
a
don't
gallon
mind.
of milk.
I don't mind the bags either.
I got used
so
to them.
the worst thing you want to you really don't want to adversely affect
throw 'em
like
out.
these small businesses that are selling food, and like we have a wonderful local small business of restaurants. You're one of them. Like, so it's like we want to do this in like a good way where everybody can kind of participate, feel good about it.
All right, that's one thing. Tomorrow,
Tomorrow
a big day
is
for
our
Lowell
big
Sustainable
day.
Community.
Yes.
You've been teasing this for weeks now. here on
Tomorrow
the
it's finally
Daily Pulse.
here. Yes, we have the 9th annual Lowell Sustainability Summit. Catherine Moses it's the first time we have a sustainability department with the Sustainability Summit, so that's a lot to celebrate.
Who oversees them and negotiates their contract?
She reports to the city manager. I don't know. It's a position in the city, I don't know, not us, but yeah, no, we're giving awards out, and I have to give a shout out to
Wait,
Lowell.
I thought the department's been a couple years old.
No, it's the first year.
Oh, really?
It's the first year.
Oh, okay.
So you've had 8 sustainability
Summits.
summits before you had a sustainability department?
Yes. Well, we've had a sustainability council for a while,
Okay.
and it was the Green Building Commission.
Oh,
It started
okay.
off as the
You
Green Building.
renamed it. Okay, I got
We had
it.
a rebrand.
Yeah.
And so we're giving these beautiful awards.
Look at that.
So
That's really cool.
Yes.
Go to the side view on that if you would, Mick, because that is
It is
actually
a good tree slice
the trophy is a slice
of a tree.
of a actual. What kind of tree do we know?
This we think are yews. Brian Molinari did the cutting of the trees. He got the slices, and then
Did he consult an arborist on the right way?
He
to
is an
cut the tree?
arborist.
Oh, he is an arborist. Is this the guy that spoke to the city council?
yes,
Oh, well,
Yes.
excellent. Very passionate guy.
he's the
loves
best.
Is that tree from Clock
the
Road that
best.
fell down?
No, these are actually from Chelmsford.
Can I see that for a
These
second?
are local
Hold on,
trees.
Let me,
Hugging the tree.
now a tree
Let me see.
hugger.
That's
These are
nice.
beautiful.
Yeah, aren't they? So that one's
Those are really well
yeah.
done.
So
This is
Coalition for a
who did
Better
it? Lowell
Acres.
made, they said, or Lowell
Makes.
makes.
So Lowell Makes, what an incredible place. I went down there for the
CBA.
Skillshare. We went down there for the Skillshare last weekend. They have, so it's right next to Western Ave Studios, so it's like a different entryway. But they have open houses on Wednesday nights. You pay $49 a month and you have access to a wood shop, a metal shop. You have to kind of take courses on like getting used to like the facilities, whatever. They have a pottery place. They have the laser. So Jim Richard, Lee Davey, and Sean Ash, they all helped me.
Sean Ash from Drake It?
Yes,
With the Warren Shaw
he
Sean
did.
Ash?
He did. Yes, he did. He helped with the laser. The laser.
He's been doing behind the scenes on the Warren Shaw Saturday morning show and the Salvation.
Yeah,
Army.
that's
It's
him.
on forever.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
God,
him.
he's a Bill Ricka dude.
So he
How'd you get a Bill Ricka dude involved in this?
he's down at Lowell Makes. He operated the laser. It's a huge laser engraving machine.
Yeah.
So you have access to all these
Yeah, but
beautiful
pop that up
things.
there again if see people can actually see the workmanship. Like these are the.
So that's this is the
350 Mass of Greater Lowell. who
this is
won.
350, and then the other one's going to Coalition for a Better Acre for green design. And
right.
they're 555.
Nice.
And then there's one. So we've already revealed the award winners, but there is one we're not revealing, and you didn't bring that.
I
trophy
didn't.
in.
That one's a surprise.
There's a surprise for a special honoree.
That was
Yes.
really cool. Is that the other one? With
Yes.
the-
Yeah, that one. Michaela sent us pictures of it, and I have to tell you, the cell phone camera image didn't do
Yeah.
it justice. I see these in person, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Privately, I'm thinking, boy, Mick, you could have done better. I could have gotten.
Really?
I could have gotten you one online from
No,
Amazon.
this is
trophy.
this is, and they were like, honestly, the sense of community that you get in like Lowell Makes, like everybody's like very excited to like help and like do their work, and like everyone's got a really awesome project going on. Like it's so cool. It's so cool.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. And we have a Hondros hug before we go. But before we get to actually two Hondros hugs.
Yeah.
But we've got
That'll
a
be
Teddy's
quick.
tickle.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
You got to rename that, man. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that.
With the Panos pat, the
Oh,
Panos.
even that's bad. The Panos poke.
All right, with the Panos. This one is more like a poke, but I just want to kind of tickle them. We're going to take down Batch's chart here, the Batch Wealth Update, and we're going to replace it with. This is an email I got from Chelmsford Youth Baseball.
With the Teddy patronize. Panos patronize.
The Panos patronize. I like it. But tomorrow, this Saturday, shortly before Michaela's Sustainability Summit. And by the way, I apologize, Mick. I can't make your
Oh, no.
Ari's got his first basketball traveling game tomorrow morning in Wellesley. So,
All right. Good luck, Ari.
So I won't be able to make this either. The Chelmsford Youth Baseball field cleanup. The 110 fields in Chelmsford, that's those baseball fields. If you drive down Chelmsford Street, you're heading towards Chelmsford Center, and there's like a little bit past the Radisson Hotel and whatnot. There's a whole bunch of
Is that
fields.
the one that's next to like the Freeman Trail? If you go.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You see a lot of people on their bikes cutting through, waiting at the light to get in onto the Freeman Trail. But those are the fields in Chelmsford. And Chelmsford Youth Baseball is asking volunteers / parents to come on out and clean the fields. Help with the cleanup.
Yeah.
If you have a leaf blower, bring it along. They need rakes because they don't have enough rakes to go for everybody. And this goes on rain or shine, but it's an effort of involved Chelmsford parents in their sports leagues to clean the fields.
Is there a union objection because it's taking?
No, and what it harkens back to, and I'm not picking on anybody, I swear, but it harkens back to, remember last summer when we were talking about, the field conditions and the parks conditions in Lowell, and I was like, all right, the parks I get it, but the baseball fields, what happened to the days when parents used to take some pride in that? And a couple of dads who had riding mowers would go mow the baseball field, right? Some of the parents would bring green plastic bags and empty the trash. You would beautify the fields for the season and then maintain them. You'd periodically do this, and you could do it in your neighborhoods. Kind of like what Lowell Litter Crew does, but shouldn't like every neighborhood have their own version of the Lowell Litter Crew doing baseball fields and maybe even some park cleanups and stuff? And it's like, take a little pride in your community, people. Your kids are playing on these fields and they're not in the greatest shape because every Chelmsford, Lowell, all these other municipalities, they have enough to do now and they're struggling to do it. But if parents would just do some of this stuff, take a little pride in the field that your kids play in, the parks that your kids play in, the walking trails that you go to. Take a little pride, clean them up, organize cleanups. You'll make your city a better place. You'll make your little league and baseball, your baseball teams better for your kids and better for your community. And everybody will win in the end. If everybody's relying on the nanny state, you just want to show up with your Dunkin' Donuts, styrofoam cup or whatever they're serving it in nowadays, and just watch, Ari or anybody else play baseball.
Pinot
You got your wine or your tequila in your little fake coffee mug or whatever. Take a little pride. Don't wait for the nanny state to do everything for you.
But I have a question.
Do it yourself.
Does Chelmsford have school choice?
I don't know. I don't think so. We don't have that many schools.
I'd be interested to see if there's a correlation between cities with school choice or neighborhood schools and parent participation and stuff.
That's
That's
fair.
very interesting.
Because I don't think you know your neighbors anymore. Because how do people get to know each other? It's through their kids, right? So I don't know. I don't know anybody in my neighborhood because I don't have kids. But is there less participation because these folks don't know each other?
I would bet 100%. I don't know my neighbors in Chelmsford, and I'm starting to meet people. Well, I know my surrounding neighbors, but I'm starting to meet other families through my kids' sports. Yesterday, Ari's baseball practice, a kid that he played basketball with 2 years ago, he's on this team this year on baseball, and we saw the mom. The dad actually is my kid's barber now, and he just opened a shop in downtown in central the center of Chelmsford and whatnot. So it's community pride. Don't wait on the government to do everything for you.
Right.
Government's got to organize this. Government's got to get you out to vote. Government's got to clean your field.
I will say
do it on your own, folks. Do it on your own.
Those fields were pretty bad until they got after it, though. I mean,
in Lowell?
Yeah.
Oh, of course they were.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of it.
You should have seen the one they spent a ton of money in Chelmsford, the Friendship Park baseball and softball fields.
Oh, yeah,
were a
those are
disaster
nice.
last summer, and they were 1 year old.
Thank God for neighborhood representation.
Community.
But anyways, I mean, it's that. Honestly, that's the kind of stuff that didn't get done before neighborhood representation. But that wasn't your.
Shed was beautiful, though.
Oh yeah, Shed was a paradise.
The parks in Lowell do look a lot better.
Yeah,
But
'cause
to
they
your
got
point,
after
it is. I agree with you.
There should also be a little community pride, right? Have a cleanup.
You're getting outside. Do you think there's a correlation between just people being more in their homes and not really outside and not like I think there's a more movement to be you can get everything delivered. You don't have to go to the grocery store.
You really don't have to leave your house.
You don't have to leave your house anymore. But if you know your
That's the plan.
neighbors, I know. So that is building community is kind of the antidote to feeling relying on the nannies.
Yeah, we kind of lost that. Everybody expects somebody else to do it. Even we went to the Greek Independence Day celebration at the Hellenic.
Oh, yeah, how was it?
Center.
Yeah.
And at the end of the program, they said, we'd love it if some parents and fathers would stick around and pick up the chairs and the
We
tables.
always did that.
So I stuck around, I sent the kids home with their grandparents and I stuck around and we picked up tables and chairs and and we cleaned up the gym so that the one janitor that the school had, the one custodian, I apologize, didn't have to do it by himself or the teachers.
Can't say janitor anymore?
I don't know. Can you? Because
I don't
that's not an official job title anymore. They're custodians or maintenance people.
You're shocked. Your face is shocked.
Oh, no, I didn't know you couldn't say that anymore.
Well, there's we've reworded everything now.
Okay.
Oh, we don't have master bedrooms anymore.
You don't?
No.
No, primary.
No, that's Ray Booten. He'll tell you.
Jesus.
You cannot refer to it as a master bedroom anymore.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yep. Gotcha.
But Panos Pride.
Panos. That's too sugary.
Right? No. Okay. All right. The tickle it is.
The
tickle.
The tickle's probably the best option.
Or the Panos poke. Anyway, on that note,
Teddy's token.
Teddy's token of wisdom.
On that note, we cannot end a Big Fun Friday version of the Daily Pulse with the Pod Squad without a Hondros hug.
Yep.
And today you've had such a stressful week.
Yeah.
That you actually have 2 hugs.
I have 2.
2 hugs.
I have 2 because one is like so the first one, this is something I hopefully will help people. So yeah, I've had like a week. Sometimes there are people in your life that just make things difficult for you, or
Have you been talking to Riley?
No.
Is she complaining about me?
Oh no, nothing like that. No, nothing like that. Well,
She complains about me to Beth.
I mean, maybe it's someone that like yelled at you on the street for whatever. I don't know, whatever. But there are people, and they can be difficult to deal with, and there are lessons in those people too. You can be grateful for having those people in your life because there can be a teaching moment there or something, a way for you to kind of be a better person. And you can use the word tormentors. Like they're mentors. They're tormenting you. They're tormenting you, but they're a mentor in some way. And so that was my, I had to tell myself that a few times this week. And
you
so
learned self-restraint this week from your tormentors.
Well, I learned, there are, it's okay to have difficult situations and you become better from them and you learn from them. And so that's my first Hondros hug. Okay. And then on the other side of that, right? If you have difficult situations, sometimes people come into your life and help you. And there's really good people out there. So like, that's another thing. And so this is an interesting thing. According to research, acts of kindness, helping people, release the same chemicals as falling in love.
Really? When
you help someone. Yeah. Dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin.
I don't know. Helping people doesn't make me run away.
So, that's different. That's different.
So
helping someone kind of releases.
This is a study, a research.
Research, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Somebody actually researched this.
Yes.
What chemicals are released by helping people?
But when you have a feeling of like,
I've never felt like that.
Acts of doing an act.
Thank God Donald Trump.
Doing an act of kindness. Yeah. Well, no, it's like doing an act of kindness for someone, like doing,
I wonder
like
what they mean.
Holding a. Well, I think it's like you do feel good when you just help someone.
What's released when you're like loving something or falling in love, right? Is that the chemical, the endorphin?
Dopamine, serotonin, and
so basically you're helping somebody else to fall in love with yourself.
Oxytocin. You're helping someone. No, because
you're starting to fall in love.
No, you're feeling.
Are you falling in love?
It's not.
It releases the same.
No, it doesn't mean you're falling in love. It means the
pleasure.
The dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin that you feel when you're falling in love, like it's like a good feeling. The same chemicals are released when you do like an act of kindness for someone, when you help someone. So, spread the love around.
I wish we had that little one to grow on thing that used to be when we were kids. Remember that?
Unfortunately. So cleaning a baseball field.
Yeah, that's an act of kindness.
Is an act of kindness.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The Hondros hug meets Teddy's tickle.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
I love that. High five. We had a good, that's
we always
good.
end on a high note. To Michaela Hondros McCarthy, the hyphen. Good luck tomorrow on the sustainability.
Thank you.
I was planning to come
I know
over.
you were. That's okay.
I'm sorry that I can't.
Saturdays are tough.
If we get back quickly enough, maybe I will, because I can avoid going and raking in the cold. Just the forecast for this weekend.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna rain, right?
The past 2 weekends have been so crappy.
Horse racing note. I'm going to put a story up on InsideLowell.com.
Oh, yeah, the Lowell guy, right?
Chancellor McPatrick, the horse owned by Sean Flanagan from Lowell, supposed to run in the Keeneland Stakes tomorrow. If he finishes third or better, he's going to make the Kentucky Derby. He'll qualify for the Kentucky Derby. The incoming flooding rains and weather has postponed that race. They're going to run it Tuesday instead of Saturday at Keeneland.
You must be so upset.
I know. I had a whole day planned.
So we'll have more details on InsideLowell.com.
Me and Callie have to do something else tomorrow.
Now you got to find.
You can come to the sustainability summit.
Bring Callie to that, please.
Oh my
That would
God.
be
Yeah,
What?
he can wear his
What?
Reagan. He can wear his Reagan shirt.
Oh
That'll
my
be
God.
All right, Batch, thank you as well.
No problem.
Always a pleasure. Thanks to all of you for tuning in as well. It's been a fun week here on the Daily Pulse. We got a fun week planned next week. Among our guests, Monday with Marty Laurie will be here. Got to figure out our city councilor. Leslie Boder will be back for Big Fun Friday. We'll see what else we can get for you in between. But until then, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I hope you all stay safe through the weekend. We'll catch you on the other side.